Hello.
No.
I am in a list of things, of messages from Israel,
Yeah.
and they showed a photo, a big billboard that says Trump, the American flag, and says "Make Israel Great Again."
I'll make Israel great again. Where was this? Was in Israel?
Yeah.
Oh, they probably want the Americans who can vote to vote.
Hey, he's a nutcase, yeah.
Oh, make it. Ay, 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 ay.
In the meantime, people want to kill him, no?
So far, too.
Yeah.
This guy's really crazy. I
He
heard
was 12 hours waiting.
but not only that, he wanted to get soldiers from Afghanistan to fight in Ukraine. He talked to the government. He had this idea, and looking at him, you cuckoo person. What are you talking about? He's been arrested like 12 times.
He's supposed his state of residence is Hawaii.
Yeah, well, yeah. I think if I lived in Hawaii, I would stay in Hawaii.
Hawaii. I suppose he had the guns here because he cannot travel with the guns by plane. No?
Yeah, I don't know how they do it. I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, Walter.
Good evening, everybody. We're on Pay Bays 82. We said that Amr le Ravacha bred Ravavi Ravashi. We have this whole issue that sometimes you bring the Bikurim, but you don't read the Parsha. Ravashi wants to know, what's the big deal? It's just Psukim in the Torah. Why shouldn't just, even if there's a suffix, whatever the question is, let him read it. What's the problem with reading the Psukim? Well, the Psukim say, my land. And if you don't own the land, then it's like you're a liar. Rabbi Shashay bred Rav Chi Amar, Dilma Asi Lavku Inu Mitruma Meiser. That means if you mamish treat it like bikurim, mamish bikurim, then you end up not giving the proper trumas and maestras. So that's why we make a simon that they don't read, so everybody knows that you got to give trumas and maestras from it. Then we said, depends if you only buy 2 trees, you don't get the land. And the higdilu lo yishafeh, that if the the person who bought the trees, his leaves grow so that it's damaging through shade the field of the owner of the land that the trees are in, he's not allowed to cut down the leaves of the trees that the guy bought. We also said anything that grows from the trunk, from the geza, is owned by the owner of the trees. That which grows from the roots belongs to the owner of the land. And now, how do we tell? If you can see, if it sees the sun, then it's above ground, and it's considered zeu geza. If it's underground and it doesn't see the sun, then zeu min hashroshim. Now, if it's anything from the trunk, even if it's very minimally above the land, the ground, is still considered to the owner of the tree. What's going to happen is the land gets flooded with water. It brings mud. So now all of a sudden, these little saplings that are growing out of the lower part of the tree are covered by mud. And it looks like they're growing not from the tree, but from the ground. And you're going to mistakenly assign the ownership to the person from the ground rather than to the owner of the tree. But Amr lay, so let the owner of the tree say to the owner of the field, all of a sudden it's going to look like there are things growing from the ground like another tree. And the Bali Lonis is going to claim that the guy sold him 3 trees, not 2 trees. And now remember this, the symbol of having 3 trees means you also have the land. So it could come to a fraud. Rav Nachman, but yikots, yes. He has to make sure he cuts it right away. That way it won't lead to this fraud. Rav Nachman, Naktinon, we've learned from our previous rabbis, dekel, that's a palm tree that was bought, ein lo geza. There's nothing grows out of the trunk of a palm tree. Take a look at our palm trees in Los Angeles, right? The ones that grow very tall. There's nothing growing from you see leaves on the top of the tree, and you see the trunks are bare. Savras vid lemeimar, ein lo geza. It means what grows is ein lo geza lebal dekel. The owner of the palm doesn't get anything. Why? If a palm tree dies or gets cut, he doesn't have the right to replant a new palm tree there. The land doesn't belong to him. Asuchi mesich daiti. He takes his mind off of it, and therefore he doesn't have the right to the produce coming from the trunk of the palm. Maski flor of papa. What about if you buy 2 trees from your neighbor's orchard? They're also, if they die, he's not allowed to plant new trees there. But uktani sheyeshlo, there he does get what grows from the trunk. Why should a palm be different? Of Papa, she'ein lo gezel abal dekel. It's only a palm, not any other tree. Lefi she'ein moitzi geza. No leaves or anything of value grows from the trunk of a palm tree. However, Ula Rav Zvid, that Rav Nachman's statement refers to every tree. So kasha mashnis is we just brought a kasha from our Mishnah between why in one case you get from the trunk, in the other case you don't. This zavin l'chamesh shanim, because our Mishnah is talking about he bought not just the tree, but he also bought the place of the tree for 5 years. And he made it Tanai. That there, if the tree died or you had to cut it down, he had the right to plant a new tree in its place. Then the Mishnah said, Kana Shloisha. But if you buy 3 trees, Kana Karka, then you get the land in between the trees. Kama, how much land do you acquire? Hareza Kana Tachtehem. You get the land underneath the tree itself. Ubeinehen, and between the 3 trees. And Chutzalahen, Kimlo Ora Visalo. You have to stand with a basket to pick figs from your tree. So the place like circular around the tree to stand with a basket, that amount of land he gets as well. Maskif la Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer has the following question. Hashta shederach lo. Right? We talked about if you buy trees, you don't automatically get the road to get to the trees. So if you don't get a derech, or v'sala yeshlo, you're going to give him this space of standing with the basket? So we explain, yeah, derech ein lo, the arach risihi, the land belongs to somebody else. So oira v'sala yeshlo. So oira v'sala yeshlo, if he doesn't have the derech, how can he have this other? Rav Zeir Mediva Rabbeinu Nilmad Shloisha Hu She'ein Lo Derech. When you buy 3 trees, then you don't get the right of way and the road to the trees. Hashnayim Yeshlo. But if you buy 2 trees, you do get the derech. The Amarlei Ba'ar Ditcha Kaimi. They're in your property. But I have rishus to use for the trees. I'm allowed to use the derech to get to the trees. What does Rabbi Eliezer not hold like his Rebbe Shmuel? We always learned that Shmuel held like Rabbi Akiva, that when a seller sells, he sells with a generous heart. And he's not going to sell trees without the derech to get to it. Relay, even if we say that Rabbi Eliezer holds like Rabbi Akiva, he cannot set up the Mishnah like Rabbi Akiva, rather like the Chachamim, who holds that when a moicher sells, he sells by and roya. Mimai, how do you see it? Miditani. We said imigdilu, when he sold 3 trees, and if there's more growth that is damaging his property, he's allowed to cut the new growth because it's causing shade for his field and it's damaging. However, he saw Gedaidik Rabbi Kiva, my yishape. Why would he, if it's Rabbi Kiva, he would sell it with an open heart, and he wouldn't be allowed to cut the trees. Amr moicher b'ayin yafa moicher. Amr lei, there's no raya. Aimer dam Rabbi Kiva gabi bor v'dus. Maybe Rabbi Kiva, when you buy a boar, you also buy the derech. Why? Because those things, the lo machish ara, those things don't damage the ground around them. Gabi ilan, but a tree that's growing with palm trees that's going to provide shade for his produce in his field, who said, Mishamislei, that the seller will do something to damage himself. Milo Rabbi Kiva even Rabbi Kiva holds that a tree that's growing and some of your branches are leaning over to your neighbor's field, you have to cut it down, or he can even cut it down. At least the height of a saddle above a plow, because it's going to prevent the person working the field to work the field properly, because he's going to bump into these branches. So Rabbi Kiva is not generous regarding the field. So our Mishnah could be like Rabbi Kiva as well. Tani kavas Rav Chia Barava. that if you buy three trees in a field, Areza Kona Tachteyan, you buy the land underneath the tree, Beineyan, in between the trees, V'chutzelen Kamole Aravasalo, and around the tree, for you to walk around the tree to pick the figs along with a basket. Amalei Abai Rav Yosef. O son, this amount of land that you were given around a tree, Mizorim. So I understand during the time where you have to pick the fruit, the owners of the tree will have the right to work there. But the rest of the year, who has the right to put seeds there? The owner of the tree or the owner of the field where the trees are in? I relate to Nisua. I can give you the answer from a Mishnah. Person has a garden encircled by another garden of his friend. So he has the right to go through his friend's garden to get to his garden. Even so, achitzon zoresa derech. That road, that right of way, for the guy who has the inner garden to walk to his inner garden, it's the outer guy who owns the outer guy has the right to put seeds there. And the Gemara wanted to compare the same thing about who gets to plant the seeds around the trees. Arle midami, there's no comparison. Hasam lesle pseida, lilokech. When the guy with the garden on the outside seeds the right of way, so everyone is using the derech. Abalacha isle pseida lilokech. There could be potential damage to the purchaser, to Amarle, kamatinfi peri, that your fruit that's falling from the trees, and because of the seeds, is damaging my fruit. Halodami al seifa. The case is more comparable to the seif of the next Mishnah. If the road into the inner garden is not straight, but it's circular, it's curved or from the side, so there's going to be some loss even for the inner guy, because he doesn't go in a short direction. So zev zeh ein rishon l'zar. Neither can plant the seeds. So here as well, we asked the question, who plants the seeds around the tree? Here as well, neither can. Not the owner of the trees and not the owner of the fields. The Brisa says clearly, neither has the right to plant seeds there. How much distance must there be between the trees where we consider these three trees that were bought as one unit, where the purchaser acquires the land? Rav Yosef Amar Rav Yosef Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel Me Arba Ames V'ad Shmona. There should be between 4 and 8 ames distance between the trees. Rav Amar Rav Nachman Amar Shmuel Mishmona Ad Sheishesrei, from 8 till 16. Amar La Abay Rav Yosef Lo Tifle Galei Rav Nachman. Don't argue with Rav Nachman. Disna Masis and Kavasi. There's a Mishnah like him. Disna. Hanoteas Karmo Sheishesrei Amal Sheishesrei Amal. You plant a vineyard 16 by 16 amas, and there's 16 amas between the rows. Mutter lavi zer l'sham. There's no klak kerem. You could bring seeds there in the empty space between the rows. Am Rav Yehuda Ma'isa be'ir tzalmoin. Be'echad shanatas karmo sheishes ama. He left 16 amas space between the rows. Vayahofach se'ar shtei shruros. He would bury underneath the ground leaves, l'tzad echad, the zoreas anir, and he would plant this empty space with seeds. And then he would intermingle that which we planted with the area of the seeds. The zar sabor, the the part of the field last year that he left fallow, he should seed there. So we see if the trees are far apart enough, 16 amas, it's not considered one unit. So up until 16 amas, it's 1 unit. Beyond 16 amas, it's a separate unit. Amar lay. Rav Yosef said, "Ano lo yadana ela uvda avna." I don't know, but the fact is, Bedura de Ravasa. This happened in a village of shepherds. And then they're going to say a case, Rav Yehuda, and there'll be a certain case discussed. Okay. Tomorrow, we will learn at 6 o'clock